We call this meeting of the Utah County Planning Commission to order on this December 16th at 5:34 p.m. And we will start with a Pledge of Allegiance led by Commissioner Chris Harrod. Thank you. Please repeat after me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, our first order of business is to approve the meeting minutes from our November 18th meeting. Has everyone received a copy of that in their packet? Are there any edits, amendments, changes, any concerns, any motions?
If there's no questions or concerns about it, I move that we approve the minutes for the November 18th, 2025 meeting.
I second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the minutes. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. There's none opposed, so the minutes are approved. We now have item D on our agenda. It is a Utah, it's a proposed land use ordinance text amendment. And do we have a report?
Yeah,
Okay.
Greg Robinson from our staff will give you a summary.
Okay.
Good evening. This ordinance amendment is intended to deal with kind of our parcel review process. Currently, we do parcel reviews to determine whether a parcel has met all the legal division requirements per our ordinance and per state code, and we do that research back to 1942 to determine that. So all divisions from 1942 to current would have to have met those subdivision requirements in order for them to be able to obtain a permit for any structure or use on the property. So we are proposing to change that to update the process to review parcels back to 1992. And 1992 is important because that's when the last change to the state subdivision code was put into place. That allows us, and that change kind of required all parcels and lots to go through the subdivision process in order to divide property. So it makes it clear and easy for us to do that research and to apply the ordinance evenly and without too many different interpretations of that those divisions. The changes include adding a vested parcel, which is a record or parcel that has an existing house that's on at least 1 acre that has been in that same configuration and it has a permitted house on that since 1992. If that research determines that parcel was legal and they had received a building permit within that configuration, then that parcel would be vested in that same without having to add property or area to that parcel to be able to meet legal configuration requirements. Any parcel that was able to meet the division requirements going back to 1992 would be determined a legal parcel. Some of those parcels may have to be required to add area to if they needed to meet any of those requirements to be able to be a buildable parcel at that time. The amendment also kind of establishes kind of clear and enforceable standards that we have previously. Some interpretations have been have changed based on kind of our understanding of our legal responsibility to determine whether a parcel was compliant with those requirements or not. This clears up some of those and makes it a little easier for us to interpret those. It also kind of streamlines the process for us to review parcels and lots, kind of helps us reduce that time that it takes us to get an answer back to applicants. It allows property owners to be able to better utilize their property without having to go all the way back to 1942 to be able to determine whether that parcel is legal or not. Lots are really not going to be affected greatly because if they're recorded in a subdivision, we recognize those as legal before, and so we'll continue to recognize those as legal if they were recorded in an unapproved plat. So there's not a lot of effect that those will have on lots. The other changes also kind of that were made were to non-complying structures and non-conforming uses and right-of-way dedications for lots and parcels, and then also kind of just to update any state code requirements that needed to be made to meet the updates that have happened in between the time that we last updated those sections of code. So we kind of made minor changes to certain areas, but majority of the changes are to lots and parcels. And in essence, it's kind of allowing us to do the review process back to 1992 rather than 1942, which hopefully helps most property owners because a lot of those parcels, they may have not created the illegal division, but they may have bought a parcel that had that problem, but this might help clear up some of those issues for them going forward without having to deal with the consequences of somebody else's misunderstanding or not understanding the review or the right process to go through to subdivide property. So that I know that there's a lot of changes that are being shown here, but in essence, that's kind of what is happening. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer those for you and kind of trying to explain what changes we're making. So,
Mr. Chair, just to add to that, Greg touched on this, but this is a property owner friendly amendment, but it still aligns with a clear, defined line in the sand, so to speak, set by state code. So.
Yeah, I was gonna. What's not clear in the reading of it is whether this makes more headache or less. I guess, and it sounds like from your perspective, it should be less. And I was wondering if going back to 42 gave them more rights, and that's what they were, that would be giving up now, or if coming forward to 92 make, does that put a higher burden on them or a lower burden?
sure, yeah. So generally, it lessens the restrictions on parcels because a lot of times 80 years of history for parcels and people that divide property without really thinking of going through an approved process. Sometimes that affects current property owners without them really knowing that issue is in place before they purchase the property. This will help kind of alleviate some of those issues, give them the ability to not have to correct some of those illegal divisions that happened prior to 1992, and it will help them kind of utilize their property without having to do extra steps to be able to do that.
So I read in one of the pages that the practice to this point was to declare some property kind of, that it didn't meet the requirements, and so they basically just had a can't get out of jail card basically with their property. And
Yeah.
and with this change, would we update those notices? Would we send something out? How would they become aware that maybe
So at this point, it would just be through their requests for
requests that come in? So
yeah,
new requests would be applied against this, but
yeah, it would be
those that
difficult.
have
Yeah,
been
it,
given a bad, that their property wouldn't meet the requirements that may now meet the requirements, they wouldn't be notified, or there wouldn't be any effort to
right. Where possible, we'll try and inform property owners of changes that have been made to our ordinance. If they have a current request or if they might be affected by this ordinance change, we'll definitely update them on kind of those changes that will be made. Generally,
Is there a list kept of properties that have kind of fallen into this kind of like red
Um,
zone that they can't?
not a list that we would necessarily be able to kind of identify property owners because divisions happen, I
Mhm.
mean, in the county quite often, and there are way too many parcels for us to be able to keep track of. And the only times that we really find out about most of those illegal divisions is when they come and make a request from our office to do something with their property. And so generally we do our best to try and update people. And anybody that may have affected, we knew that this was possibly coming, and we've let people know in those times that this change might affect them and that they may want to come back towards the beginning of this year to kind of see if those requirements have changed and if they benefit from that
So
too.
they would have bumped up against this with a denied permit, basically.
Yes.
And so they would have applied for a permit and received a, a decline on it or whatever.
Yeah.
They would have rejected it. Is that something that goes all the way here, or is it done in your office before it even gets to this?
Yeah, it's just in our office. Our
Yeah.
office, we withhold permits in those situations where we've determined that their parcel was illegally divided, and in those cases, we've told them the process that they can fix those. If they do want to try and remedy those, if there's a possible way for them to remedy them, especially if there's a clear and easy way for them to remedy those illegal divisions. We try and help them through that process already. But um, the people that may have been affected by this, I think that it would be difficult for us to find a way to contact all of those people. But it's not something that we haven't thought about through we've been contemplating this for several months, and we've been letting people know if they may be affected by this that to come and back and check with us.
Mr. Chair, if I could maybe just add one thing, this is a situation that's kind of unique to the county. Cities, we're all subject to state law as it relates to division of land. The cities really are developed and built through the subdivision process, which is much cleaner and easier to identify. It's rare that a person, it can happen, but not as frequently as it does in the county, where a person just has their property that they've owned and grandpa divided it a couple times or divided it once, and we have to track to see if that followed state law, which in the past you could do that, but since 1992 you had to go through the subdivision plat. So it's something we see a lot more in the county, and it really can get complex, especially if you're not trained in title searches, and so we feel this was kind of a good solution to benefit both the property owner, but also the county's efficiency, as Greg stated, in processing these requests.
So I guess I had a couple of questions. So like up at Sundance, I understand there's properties up there, lots and stuff that were created kind of non-conforming and out of compliance and stuff like
Sure.
that.
Yeah.
This benefits them. Is that what I'm understanding?
So, yes, it does. For most of those people that have had properties that have been built on that have a house, it definitely benefits them. It allows them to be recognized as non-conforming but legally existing. In some cases, this does put some requirements on them to be more conforming with our ordinance. Um, in 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 situations where they haven't built a house, they are required to meet today's area and frontage requirements, or width requirements, whatever those might be. So there are some situations where previously they may have been identified as a non-conforming parcel, but um, in so the changes that we're proposing would allow us to be able to kind of meet what we currently require so that we become more conforming in situations where the county commission and planning commission have reviewed our ordinance requirements and have found that the area requirements are kind of consistent with what we want to see. And so in those situations where they haven't built, they will be required to meet today's ordinance. However, there is also kind of a sunset clause in here that allows them 3 years to be able to take advantage of the review process and still be non-conforming and still build a house on those situations, but it gives them 3 years to be able to take advantage of that. After that, they would have to meet today's ordinance requirements. That way, if somebody was in the process of wanting to do something with their property, it's that we're giving them the opportunity to take advantage of that so that they have ample time to get a permit for those situations and move forward without being affected by the change. Most of our zoning requirements for area and width have been in place for many years. Like it's not something we have changed recently. So most of these parcels have been, or most of these requirements for area and width have been in place for more than 20 years. So it's not like this is a surprise for most people that want to utilize their property. So that's kind of what we would want to go more towards the requirements we have today, so that most parcels would have to meet today's ordinance requirements for area and width. But the benefit to them is that they don't have to necessarily go through the subdivision process to be able to make those modifications. And if they were deemed illegal because of a division that happened prior to 1992, then that would not affect them at this point. They would be able to just do boundary adjustments to be able to add property or add width to be able to be legal without having to do a subdivision. So it still gives them the benefit without having to go through a plat or a subdivision process to be able to do that. So it still gives them a lot of flexibility, and it gives them a lot of ability to kind of go through processes that would have triggered a subdivision requirement in the past, but this still gives them a lot of ability to kind of utilize the benefits of moving property lines without having to do a subdivision and go through all the processes that are involved in that.
So there could be some that benefit greatly, and others if they don't come up to speed within the 3 years, and they may have to go through a few more hoops and stuff like that.
Correct.
Next thing, like up Hobble Creek and stuff like that, where lots have been established and stuff like that, they still have to meet all the requirements for water and stuff like that. This doesn't change any of that, right?
Exactly. This doesn't affect anything but area and width requirements in those situations where they be non-conforming.
Okay.
Any further questions for staff? Is there someone that would like to make a motion?
We do need to
public
hold a
hearing.
public hearing.
What?
This does require a public hearing.
Oh, it does require a public hearing. Well, let's do that then. Sorry, I missed that. Is there, would we like to make a motion to open the public
I
hearing?
move we go into a public hearing.
It's been moved and seconded to open public hearing. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the public hearing is open. Is there anyone that would like to address the commission on the topic of this ordinance text amendment?
I bet my wife is not going to address that issue.
All right. All right. Is there any further, should we close the public hearing?
So moved.
It's moved and seconded by Chris. To close the public hearing, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, back to the text amendment. Is there a motion?
If there's no other concerns, I'll make a motion that the Utah County Planning Commission recommend approval to the Utah County Commission of the proposed amendments to the Utah County Land Use Ordinance, Section 1.24, 2.08, and Chapters 4, 12, and 14 to amend requirements for non-conforming lots or parcels and associated requirements, along with any applicable renumbering and reformatting based on the findings listed in Section 5 of the staff report.
I second. It's been moved and seconded to recommend approval to the Utah County Commission. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. That's passed unanimously. I see some resolution here. Do we need, is that the next item?
Yes. Yeah,
Sorry.
that's just,
I gotta
that's your
move-
schedule.
I got to move to page 2. Sorry. Okay, there we go. Other business. Approve a resolution adopting the annual meeting schedule of the Utah County Planning Commission for 2026. Want to speak to that?
Yeah, we kept the same format. third Tuesday at 5:30. As always, you're always free to change that, but that's kind of been the tradition for a while, so that's what we stuck with.
So is there two part? Well, there's just an Exhibit A and
Yeah, one of it's the actual resolution.
the
and
dates, and
exhibit-
then
yeah.
okay. Any discussion? Is there a motion?
I move that we adopt, does this resolution have a number?
Um, it'll be 2025-2.
I move that we adopt resolution number 2025-2, which is the resolution adopting the annual regular meeting schedule for the Planning Commission for Utah County for the year of 2026.
I second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to adopt the published schedule here on Exhibit A for the Utah Planning Commission for the year 2026. It's resolution number 2025-2. All those in favor say aye.
It's a
Aye.
resolution. You want to roll call that? Resolution require roll call? Oh, okay.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, that's completed. And that brings us to the end. Oh, we do have a
Mr.
public comment.
Yeah, before we get to that, I have
Okay.
one item.
Okay.
I just want to recognize our planning commissioner, Chris Harrod. He's served 2 terms and is going to be released from that, I guess, for lack of a better term, for his service. We sure appreciate his input and his insight. He's provided a lot of valuable insight with his experience in land use matters. And so we just want to formally recognize and appreciate his service. And we have a real minor little token of our appreciation.
Hey,
So,
awesome.
great Utah County
Oh.
fan.
Awesome.
And we're going to have a nice warm meal for him, too.
Nice.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner Harrod. It's been great serving with you.
Likewise. Thank
Okay,
you.
is there, I know there's a public comment. Actually, we're supposed to hold every meeting, right? So should we, is there anyone that would like to address the commission in our public comment section? Okay, seeing none and seeing that we are at the end of our agenda,